Venerable's been teaching on Arya Deva's 400 stanzas, and in chapter 8, it talks a lot about one of the reasons why that our afflictions can be eliminated is that the object and the causes of the object that the afflictions are focused on is unstable. It's undependable, impermanent, not definite. Everybody sees it differently, whether it's spicy food or how to fix the plumbing or whatever. So today I had one of those experiences. And so I wanted to share because it was very helpful because I was watching my mind continually thinking about these teachings. So we work on our forest a lot. It's one of our great joys, being in the forest, because we really want to promote forest health. We want to promote healthy forest, and we also want to have a place to do walking meditation and also for wildlife. So we've been doing this for a number of years, and this year we've been looking at this pretty big space way at the back of the property, and we call it Milarepa's Mile because it has this great little trail around it. Probably not a mile, but it sort of sometimes feels like a mile because it's fairly steep and fairly rugged on the top. So there's about 23 acres inside of this loop. And Venerable, after many years of walking that, we go up there and knapweed and stuff, she said, we can't do it as a community because it's way the heck up there. It's very densely treed. There's a lot of disease root. There's a lot of stuff that's come down. We're in over our heads. So she said, why don't we get the forester, call one of the foresters up. Let's see if we can get somebody, a contractor, to do it. So we've been in this process since last fall. And so the thing that changed is, first of all, we've changed foresters. Okay, same piece of property. And so we have our sort of version of what we think that place needs and what we think that place would look like and what our goals and, what do they call it? Objectives, thank you. Goals and objectives are. And they're pretty consistent because we have it for the whole forest. So when the first forester came out back in November, Matt was just great. He had great ideas, and he thought that, well, we should do thinning, and we do it this way, and we keep it about this far, and there's a company that we have that does thinning, and they've got this chipper that goes in there, and they take the trees down, and they chip it all up, put it on the forest floor, and it's going to cost about this much money. So we had a contractor come up, a very wonderful person. I didn't get to meet him, but I heard he's very experienced, and he said he could do it. Well, what we heard it was going to cost, or what it ended up, what he thought it was going to cost, there was a huge difference there. Okay, so there's a lot of things where what I'm seeing is there's the same piece of land, the same prescription, the goals and objectives, but depending on who's looking at it, you're going to get a very, very different perspective on how it's going to be able to, how those objectives and goals are going to be able to be reached. So today we had that one set, a forester and contractor. So now we have a new forester who has a totally different take. A lot of the things that we thought for sure had to come down like a stand of 9 dead grand firs, when it comes to forest health and comes to forest fire prevention, this is not a big deal. In fact, there's a squirrel nest up there. The wildlife biology would say, just keep that big pile of dead stuff up in the air. It's going to burn eventually in a forest fire, but by the time it heats up enough, the fire is going to be halfway down the road anyway. He says, don't worry about that. And then the person that he thinks will do the best job has a totally different piece of equipment, would do a totally different procedure. It's called a masticator. It would go in there, it would take down a lot of the trees about that size, and he'd also have a crew that would take the trees and bring them into sort of, they call it a wind roll, I think. Something like that, where they would put the trees up and then this masticator come and just chew everything, spew all that stuff out. He says, after it's done, you kind of get a little bit of a sticker shock because the entire forest floor is filled with these white pieces of chipped wood that can be anywhere from that size to that size. But he says, that would work. So now we've got another whole different perspective. Not sure how much this is going to cost, but I'm going to call the contractor and we're going to talk to this other person who's going to have yet another different perspective on how much they think it's going to cost and what the job is going to entail. So the whole time that this in the past few months, and especially today, I'm watching my imputation my conceptuality on what I think it should cost, what I want it to look like, how I think it should be done, and try to continually not have that conceptuality get in the way of trying to hear the wisdom of Guy, and to hear that from experience with this other company. He has been very pleased with him. He's, it works right for him. Very different way on doing it. But it's like you get to the same end, probably, but it comes from a very, very different angles. And then I'm in the middle there trying to visualize all of this and using this conceptuality to kind of see, well, would this work as well? Are there some disadvantages or advantages? So there's all of this conceptuality, all this try not to hook into my attachment to my opinion, try to keep an open heart and an open mind and an open ear to Guy, because he has a lot of experience, but he comes from a very different perspective than Matt, who we just absolutely loved. So there's also this other thing about personalities and trying to like people and meeting where they are, and all this conceptuality going on in the forest this morning. So once again, it proves to me that whatever arises in my mind is totally coming from my side. That all that's out there is a whole bunch of words. All that's out there is nothing that inherently exists. It's something changing moment by moment, whether it's just it's a dialogue, or whether it's the equipment, or whether it's the way the eye consciousness is looking at it, the way in which people are coming to it with different kinds of experience. But it's all coming from my side, the side of Guy, the side of Adam, the side of Matt, the side of Todd, who's going to be the other contractor I'm going to call, and they're all going to have these different conceptualities, and what we want to do is to find ones that sort of interface enough to where they get what they want and we get what we want, so that everybody's satisfied. But to see how easily you want to get hooked into things being a certain way and looking a certain way, and that your opinion is just, that's what it is. It's just a thought. It's just a concept. It doesn't exist from its own side. The way that I see this whole situation, there's nothing findable. There's no semke. There's no particular goal or objective. It's all just dependent arising due to causes and conditions. So it's very helpful to be up there this morning and to see these teachings just totally, that's what Arya David was talking about. And to see where the hook on where the afflictions can come. Where you really get seeing these things existing inherently from their own side. When in fact, there's going to be 7 different opinions on how that 23 acres is actually looked at and how it might be able to be taken care of. And it was very helpful practice. So I don't know if you've got 22 acres on your list of things to do, but if it's anything that we do at work or with our families or with our friends, we're all going to have different opinions. They're all concepts that come imputed due to our conditioning, due to our karma, due to whatever previous experiences we've had in who knows how many lifetimes. And so to keep an open mind and an open heart and know that it'll eventually work out on a conventional level. We're going to hopefully get what will be aesthetically pleasing and promote forest health. They'll get the money that they want, and we'll see what happens and just let it sort of unfold as a dependent arising, and we'll see where it goes from here.